Great. Well, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. And if you could please stand for the invocation. Pastor C.J. Hill, the First United Methodist Church, will lead us in prayer this evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Will you pray with me? Lord of all creation, we're grateful for all that we've been given. You've entrusted us to lead and steward the many resources in and around Bonita Springs. Give to us your wisdom, your discernment as we seek to lead in this time. Help us to love one another even when we disagree. Help us to be aware of and to hear the voices of those with little or no power among us. We trust in your mercy at this time and in this place. May our words, thoughts, and attitudes glorify you, our Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier. Amen.
Amen. Councilman Schlachter, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
It'll be an honor, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Karumba? Here. Councilman DeWitt?
Here.
Councilman Slakta? Mayor Simmons?
Here.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Here.
Councilman Gibson?
Here.
Councilman Forbes?
Here.
Okay, good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor.
And we would like to start with public comment on agenda items at this time. Any member of the public, please come forward. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lex Tsigaris. I'm with the Stardust Memories Big Band, and you have an application in front of you for our 2018 season. It would be our third season in Riverside Park. We were fortunate enough to do well and contributed $3,000 to Lee County charities, youth arts charities that provide instruments for disadvantaged kids. So we hope you'll approve our application for 4 shows in Riverside Park, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Hello, Kathy.
Hello, everyone. Mayor, everyone. For the record, Kathy McGrath. I'm making just a few comments today on the public hearing 9A with the request to vacate the easement at Riverdale. I realize that they have requested another continuance until June 7th, and I've made a lengthy statement at the 19th meeting, and I will be here June 7th, but I just wanted to reiterate my total opposition to giving up 1 square inch of this easement. It should be protected in its entirety for the future use of the public. As I said before, I realize nothing's been budgeted, and maybe it won't be budgeted for a couple of years, but we can't afford to lose another easement there. And you know, we're very fortunate that we can come here and express our opposition or our favoritism in a project, just as the petitioner has the right to present his case. But I want to strongly again say that all my comments and emails back and forth are in the packet. There's no use repeating them, but it should be protected in its entirety. So think about that. And the other thing is, if for some reason, I know they're reaching out to the neighbors, trying to convince them that they can work together and make a community project between the city and them, but no. If for some reason they decide prior to the June 7th meeting they want another continuance, I respectfully ask you to just completely deny this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Rick.
Yes, Rick Steinmeier. I don't want to give away any of the city property. Now, I think it would be behooving of the city to do some sort of an inventory of this type of easement property that's throughout the city that has become the city's responsibility since we left the county. If we could do a survey or an inventory of this in case this comes up again, and maybe in the future we come up with some plans as to what we're going to do with this property, because the neighbors seem to be taking care of it, and it actually should be our responsibility if we're going to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening.
Good evening. Jean Baer, I'm here this evening along with my business partner Betsy Ventura with the local Roots Farmers Markets. Just to report that we had another great season. We thank you for all of your support. We did partner up with some non-for-profit nonprofits, as you had requested. We had the Bonita Springs Shell Club that came in and raised money, put that right back here into the city of Bonita. We had the Estero High School again come in. Many of the students here in Bonita attend that, part of the culinary program. And those students then, they do some training while they're at the farmer's market, cutting up vegetables and fruit for the people coming to the market, and then they go back in and they work in a lot of the restaurants here in Bonita. That's what that program does, is to stimulate a lot of staff help at the restaurants. So we were happy to work with them again this year. And we also worked with the Blue Zone, which came in and took a booth at the market and spread the word of all the good things that they're doing here in Bonita for the Blue Zone. So we did all those things, and we look forward and ask for your support again for next year in operating the farmers market at the Promenade.
Great, thank you. Other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to proclamations and presentations. If I could ask, look who it is, Dr. Wilson Bradshaw to come forward, please. Boy, it's wonderful to have you here this evening, but I must admit on a personal level it's bittersweet. Absolutely, and could not be more proud to have you here or give you this, the City of Bonita Springs, a certificate of recognition proudly presented to Dr. Wilson Bradshaw in recognition for his dedication and commitment to Florida Gulf Coast University, our community, and the young men and women whose lives have been enriched and inspired by his leadership. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, May 3rd, 2017. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Please, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve this region for almost 10 years. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. It's been exciting, and I have been in higher education my entire career, and I'll tell you folks, what's happening and has happened at Florida Gulf Coast University has not been replicated anywhere in this country. And if you want to look at a little history, take some time out and go and check out University of Florida and where they were at 20 years old. They hadn't made the Sweet 16. They were not dubbed, while they're Gator Nation now, they were not Dunk City. And some of the spectacular things that we've done over these 20 years is just unbelievable. I was appointed on August 25th, 2007, and that was the 10th anniversary of the university. And it means something very special to me to be here retiring in the 20th year of the university. I can't believe all that I've been had an opportunity to be a part of. In 2008, I awarded the 10,000th baccalaureate degree. Saturday, we will have over 30,000 baccalaureate degree holders, and I will preside over all three of those commencement ceremonies. There's so many special things that have happened, and I really appreciate this recognition. It means a lot to me. I remember when we went to the Sweet 16, every municipality in Southwest Florida was Dunk City. And that was just so gratifying to see the kind of support we have garnered over the years. We would not be where we are if not for the great support that we've gotten here in Southwest Florida. So thank you all. It's not really about me, it's about those fantastic folks I work with day in and day out, the dedicated faculty and staff, the students I call my little darlings, who are also very engaged with the university and the community. It's about all of them. But I will tell you, the future is very bright for FGCU. In fact, its best days are ahead of it. So thank you all on behalf of the entire university. Real quickly about Michael Martin, my successor. Michael Martin is going to serve this institution with great distinction. I've known Michael over the years. In higher ed, the circle gets pretty small. as you go up the ladder. And Michael has a lot of energy. I speak with him often. He's excited about coming here. So I probably don't have to encourage you to do this, but embrace this guy because he's going to do very, very well. He's no Wilson Bradshaw, but Michael, in all seriousness, Michael Martin is going to come and give his very best, and he will do very well at Florida Gulf Coast University. So thank you for this recognition. Again, I accept it on behalf of the entire university community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Bradshaw, would you, nobody does it better than you. The Eagles walk.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you take a picture? Could you guys get your need to do a photo? There you go. This one, right over here. FGC, you graduate, by the way. Take it. Of course. Can I get a Go Eagles on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Go Eagles!
Thank you so much for everything you've done for our city and our great. Leadership has a lot of influence there. Yeah, thank you.
Now if we could have Al Gutierrez come in, please. Our postmaster. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Nice to see you. Well, there's not too often I get a first in my life, but to meet our postmaster, what an honor to have you here this evening. The City of Bonita Springs certificate of congratulations proudly presented to Al Gutierrez. The City of Bonita Springs extends a warm welcome and congratulations on your appointment as the postmaster for the City of Bonita Springs. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, May 3rd, 2017. Welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Al Gutierrez. I'm new postmaster of Bonita Springs. So I'm very happy to be here. I live in Cape Coral, so a little bit of a drive-in, but we already met with the mayor just a few weeks ago and discussed some meeting issues. But I'm pretty sure I came to this community and me and the mayor and the mayor's administration, you guys will work for the same community and make sure that our community will do much better in Bonita Springs. And you probably know how many buildings we're getting and how extensive coming the whole area, and I'm pretty sure everybody have some, the post office again, do some misdeliveries or something. But if you can help us so we can succeed, the whole community works as one team, and that way we can do much better work as a post office overall. Okay, so thank you very much for accepting me here in your community, and I'm pretty sure I'll do as much as I can to make our community more successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome. And I'm not sure if it's true or not, but rumor has it that Uncle Fred Forbes over here remembers the Pony Express riding through Ohio, but...
No, rides to Michigan.
Over here, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Say hello to my good friend Ed Kremke. Welcome.
Welcome and much success.
Talking about firsts, this is another first for me this evening. Two in the same evening, a postmaster, and now this will be the first State of the City address for the city of Bonita Springs. We have a lot to cover, so bear with me. I don't have a teleprompter, so I'll make as much eye contact as we have, or as possible, but we've got some fabulous things going on, and we've accomplished quite a bit. There's a lot more to do, but good evening and buenas noches. Tonight, pursuant to Section 18 of our city charter, I would like to address the state of our city. First, I feel the need to let you know what an honor it is to serve as your city's mayor. It is humbling to work with each and every one of you and our entire community. I'm honored to serve alongside each of my colleagues and community partners. As you may know, I've served this city now for 5 years. Where does the time go? 4 years as your District 4 council member, and for over a year now as your mayor. Serving on council is an honor and a privilege, and it demands a level of sacrifice, as we all know. The reason we are able to do what we do on behalf of our residents is because of our understanding of families who support us. Any of my fellow council members will tell you that what we do is not just a job without them, and what we do is we ask a lot of our family members here and tonight. So please stand so we can thank you. Amazing turnout. Phenomenal, but they're watching. Yeah, Channel 98, exactly right. Along with the 7 of us here at City Council, there is a team that makes it possible for Bonita Springs to be the city with a big, bright future. We are pleased to recognize our volunteer advisory boards, the members of the business community, our professional staff, and of course, the citizens of Bonita Springs. Along with the 7 of us on City Council, there is a team that makes it possible for Bonita Springs to provide the services and quality of life that our residents deserve. It is no surprise that our great city is recognized nationally. Bonita Springs was listed as number 2 on the 20 healthiest small towns in America from the list of Health Science Degree Guide. Bonita Springs was also spotlighted in the Florida League of Cities, Quality City magazines regarding its partnerships. TripAdvisor featured Bonita Springs as one of the 12 best places to travel for big savings, noting Bonita Springs' unique vibe. I've often said Bonita Springs is very beautiful and community-based. The city's small-town charm makes Bonita a top contender when visitors are searching for a place to visit in Southwest Florida. Bonita Springs is a destination where visitors can call home while enjoying dining opportunities, shops, beautiful parks along the river, and beautiful beaches. The council has now been in office for a little over a year. Since assuming office, council developed a strategic plan for the city, identifying transportation as its top priority. Focus has been brought to bear on a wide range of transportation-related needs throughout Bonita Springs, from alleviating congestion at the Bonita Beach Road, US 41 intersection, to adoption of a citywide bicycle pedestrian plan to improve safety and encourage connectivity. The quadrant plan, which calls for a network of new streets around the intersection of Beach Road and US 41 to alleviate intersection congestion, has been adopted as in the early stages of implementation. City Council has budgeted $5 million for the implementation of the quadrant plan this fiscal year to ensure that solutions to the congestion at the intersection can be initiated in the near future. The council also adopted the Bonita Beach Road Visioning Study. This study, designed to create a future Bonita Beach Road corridor that we all can be proud of for its enhanced beauty, connectivity, and functionality, is a focus of our efforts as well. Council also emphasized zero-based budgeting techniques to generate a transparent and open process fiscal year 2016-2017 budget that provides funding for the city's strategic priorities. The city ended fiscal year 2016 in a strong financial position, adding $1.8 million to our available fund balance, bringing that total to $4.7 million. This is in addition to the $5.1 million maintained for disaster and city charter required operating reserves. At historic joint meeting was held with the Village of Estero and Bonita Springs elected officials to discuss the possibility of advancing the statewide bike pedestrian trail network known as Sun Trail between our two cities. Consideration is being given to path alignments within Bonita, Estero, and the town of Fort Myers Beach to provide for a north-south regional trail network. Bonita Springs and Estero have also partnered to advocate for the purchase of conservation land known as Edison Farms by Lee County. This land is contiguous with the conservation space east of the city's eastern border and north of Bonita Springs DR-GR area. An initial multimodal bike pedestrian project along West Terry Street has been approved, and the requests for qualifications have been received by prospective design firms. This project will serve to establish a quote-unquote signature look for the future of Bonita Springs and its pathways. Bonita Springs is seeing strong interest in new business locations as well as expansion of existing businesses. The city has seen hundreds of business locations, expansions, and relocations within the last year alone. Herc Rentals located their corporate headquarters to Bonita Springs, along with its plans to provide an additional 122 well-paying jobs. Bonita also welcomed numerous commercial entities, including Culver's, Caliber Collision, and Silk Tech Manufacturing. Expansions include the water feature amenity at the Hyatt, Born to Dance, and Bonita Title. We are proud that we are a desirable location and where businesses want to be. A sample of residential projects include 2 new residential towers under construction, Sea Glass in my community of Bonita Bay, and Altera in the Colony. Significant housing developments elsewhere in Bonita include Bonita National, Bonita Beach Road Estates, and Bonita Landings, and senior housing complexes, American House, and Diamond Oaks. To increase transparency, the city implemented a new web page that identifies the location and new development projects proposed in the city. The new tool keeps neighbors and residents in general better informed of proposed development and activity throughout the city. Bonita Springs is active with its own development activities, including the Downtown Improvement Project. The Imperial River Bridge work is largely complete, and visual access to the river enhances the strategic asset for the downtown. The final major phase will be at the Terry Street roundabout. The entire project is still on track for early fall completion. The city is also working proactively on anchors for our downtown. These include not only the attractive Riverside Park, but the Everglades Wonder Gardens and Shangri-La Resort and Spa. In addition, the Bonita Springs Lee County Library project is also in full swing and will, with transfer of the city property complete and initial plans presented for feedback. The library just off of Old 41 downtown will be a major anchor and will enhance the vision contemplated by the Downtown Improvement Project. Groundbreaking is scheduled for 2018. The city has begun to formalize state-mandated changes to its comprehensive plan, utilizing the services of Florida Gulf Coast University. There have been multiple public workshops. The staff is also in the process of clarifying and simplifying land development codes and ensuring the code's compatibility with our comprehensive plan. Water quality is extremely important to Bonita Springs and a key statewide priority. Since taking office, the City of Bonita Springs and the Bonita Springs City Council has shown its support of this imperative initiative. Council met with State Representative Heather Fitzenhagen and welcomed the Now or Neverglades tour bus right here at City Hall. We attended a Save Our Water Summit with hundreds of leaders and clean water advocates from across the state of Florida. I also proudly signed the Lake Okeechobee Regional Compact in partnership with mayors from around the state. Council chose preservation as a high priority funding request for the upcoming legislative session. The preservation its focus is represented through the city's Pine Lake Preserve project. This project is to construct and operate water quality and water quantity projects on the Pine Lake Preserve, a Lee County Conservation 2020 property. The city executed an agreement with Lee County officials that affords the city a unique and cost-effective opportunity to treat stormwater and meet its Imperial River total maximum daily load requirements, while at the same time allowing Lee County to meet its needs to rehydrate the conservation lands. This project design is complete and is currently in for state and federal permitting. Another creative water quality project is currently under construction at the city at the corner of Feltz Avenue and Ragsdale Street in downtown Bonita Springs. The Feltz Avenue bioreactor, as the project is known, utilizes bioretention process for nitrogen removal from the stormwater runoff. The pilot project is a first of its kind in the state of Florida. It is a low-impact development technique that requires very little, quote-unquote, above-ground disturbance and allows for an alternative use of land above the project. In the case of the Feltz Avenue project, a 100-stall parking lot is being constructed. This obviously will help with needed parking in our downtown. A beach access study is also underway for increased beach access opportunities, including parking at Big Hickory Island. In other recreation improvements, the Mayhood and community parks will soon have updated children's playground equipment, while the skate park's wood structures are scheduled for replacement with a concrete facility. A private-public partnership with the Bonita Springs YMCA was initiated to provide additional recreation opportunities, including use by the city's residents at the YMCA Fitness Center during season and resident access to pickleball courts under construction with city-assisted funding. We also entered into an agreement to allow usage of the YMCA's pool. These are all economical means used to both alleviate seasonal peak usage pressures and provide new recreation offerings. Because history is important in our city, the council approved the relocation of the historic Dixie Moon structure on Old 41 to a city-owned property adjacent to Riverside Park. We also approved a resolution for a 90-day demolition delay for properties considered, quote-unquote, recognized historic resources with appropriate protection for property owners. We renovated the historic water tower near the Lyles Hotel and continue to work with the Historical Society on the renovation of the McSwain property on Old 41. The city continues working with the Arts and Public Places Board for beautification of the US 41 Imperial Bridge and to provide signature pieces on I-75 to beautify and create more significant features in our already beautiful city. We are extremely proud and excited to have been a part in finally getting a new high school. The Bonita Springs High School groundbreaking occurred on March 14th and is on track for completion in 2018 for a state-of-the-art educational facility, and academic model. There are plans to partner with Florida Gulf Coast University for dual enrollment opportunities and Advanced Placement International Diploma Program. A partnership with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach will enable students to earn college credit in flying drones, becoming a private pilot, or adding vocational skills. The 1st Air Force JROTC in Southwest Florida will be part of Bonita Springs High School programming. Go Bull Sharks. We are. The city worked with approximately 65 organizations to host special events in Bonita Springs. Events like the Bonita Blues Festival and the Taste of Bonita benefit local civic organizations that give back to our community. Council attended a variety of city events, including Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Patriots Day, Holiday in the Park, Celebrate Bonita, and the 4th of July event. These events help to brand Bonita Springs as a vibrant city with small-town charm. As these events are scheduled, the city welcomes additional participation from all neighborhoods. Towards the end of adding participation from all residents, the council established an outreach committee to more fully address the integration of all neighborhoods into the fabric of our city, and we could not be more proud. I personally have led this initiative to further develop partnerships with our Hispanic and Latino community. Working with Telemundo and Media Vista Univision, we continue to expand outreach. I am proud to announce that the city is a co-sponsor of the inaugural Fiesta event this Saturday, May 6th, at Riverside Park, which will continue to further celebrate the Hispanic heritage of our beautiful community. In closing, I am proud to proclaim that the state of the city of Bonita Springs is strong. We continue to move steadily forward towards our big, bright future. Thank you to each and every one of you. We've all had a hand in this positive growth, and I can't wait to see what we can accomplish down the road in the years to come. Thank you, Bonita Springs.
Very good, very good.
All right. Fantastic. Boy, fired up, ready to go. That's great. Go team, go. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to the consent agenda. Council, take a look there. What are your thoughts?
Just aye for comment.
Aye. So we're going to pull aye. Anything else?
Jay also.
Jay? Anything else, Council?
Move to approve the rest.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the rest. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba? Aye.
Okay, great. Aye. Peter?
Just quickly, this is a budget resolution, but I just wanted to address the substance, and a big thanks to Arlene and Matt, as well as Art and Public Places for the continuing work on trying to beautify the bridge on US 41. With that, I would move it.
Okay.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba? Aye. Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Okay, Jay, Amy.
I just want to point this out, that this illustrates that we're really that we're very close to completing the downtown redevelopment project, and this last acquisition of land is so important to that project. So I want to thank the staff for hanging in there and working out the nuances and the wrinkles that have come all along the way, but this is really a milestone, and I appreciate the effort, and I so move it.
Second.
Great. Okay, great. There's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slapka.
Okay, great. Mayor and council member items. Amy?
Yeah, I have just two items. I just want to follow up on the Meals of Hope, where we were asked to see if we could have a Bonita Springs Council team, and I'd be willing to be on it. I don't know if anybody else wants to do it. I know Kathy McGrath said that she was going to join us, and I was just asking if we wanted to get together, or we should just have it, ask people to join us. I think we need 10 members, so I think maybe I could get 2. I think I could twist Jim's arm, and if anybody else wants to join in, it requires...
Amy, what's the date? I apologize.
It's June 3rd, between 9 and 11. You're supposed to fill bags or something, but it also requires a contribution of $50, I think, for each team member, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to do it, I'd like to do it. I'm signed on for 2 people, and just let me know. I don't know how we're going to coordinate that, but I'm appealing to the council to have a presence there, and I'd be willing to spearhead that.
Right. Thank you, Amy.
And then you could just let me know by email, and I don't think with sunshine law or anything like that. The other thing I did want to say that I did participate in something with the Chamber of Commerce, and that was the Great Big Community Involvement Fair, and I was just amazed how many nonprofits came and had tables there. And for me, it was very instructive, and I just want to give my congratulations for the Chamber for sponsoring that. But I saw a lot of, familiar faces, including we had a table there from the city. And this was a means so that newcomers and old comers to the city could come and see all the things that one could get involved with, either through charities or working with them, like Bonita Assistance was there. And I just don't want to read the list. I think they had 70 different communities, but they're all from our areas, and that was so amazing to me that I didn't think we had that many organizations, but 70 organizations. So I found it very helpful. And again, thank you to the Chamber for sponsoring this, and I hope that they do it in the future and it's just as successful. And it was at the Southwest Florida Performing Arts Center, which was also interesting to be in. And I think that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Greg?
No, the only thing I have to say is that we had a groundbreaking for our fire department on yesterday at 9 o'clock. Hopefully, knock on wood, 180 days, there'll be a fire station out east of Village Walk. So by the time that Logan Boulevard pops through, we'll have a station there to help out with all the traffic that may be coming.
180 days?
180 days. That's what the contract's for.
Steve?
I was also there, and I thought it's a great location to accompany the people that are going to be moving in the area. So, Station 26, right?
Yes, sir.
Great. Peter?
Yeah, I'm going to have I might have mentioned this last time. If I did, forgive me. Going to have a call with some bikers in town, actually from Amy, from your district, on Friday with a 501c3 in Michigan. And what we're trying to explore, what they're exploring, is forming a 501c3 to assist the city of Bonita Springs with respect to our bike efforts to raise money. So evidently, this happens all over the country. And
Bikers as in Harleys?
but no, not exactly. So, I'll
Black
give
leather, Amy, right?
further updates on that.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Mike?
No, other than it is Bicycle to Work month this month. And that's why I'm wearing a bright colored shirt. I rode my bike into work, and it's going to be dark when I leave. So, but other than that, I just encourage more people to ride bikes this month. And later, I think it's the third week of the month is Bicycle to Work week, and Friday of that week is Bicycle to Work day. So if you can, do it. It's a lot of fun. And actually, I think I got here faster by bicycle than I normally do by cars.
Did you put your bicycle in your parking spot or in the bike rack? Okay. Fred?
No, I attended the groundbreaking for the new fire station, what I call 6, but the official name is 26. And it's a great event. And like Greg says, if everything goes well, which rarely it does in construction, there'll be a fire station there in 6 months with a lot of change orders.
Right. Great. And I just, obviously, we are well aware, but I do want to encourage people to come out this Saturday for our first annual fiesta Cinco de Mayo celebration downtown at the park. I want to thank Laura and everybody from the team that's worked with Univision. As I think I touched on briefly last week, we basically organized this in just about a month. And we set a financial goal of $25,000. We raised it as of yesterday. The final contribution came in. There's going to be a lot of music. There's going to be a lot of food. And it will be ethnically accurate, as leave it to me to bring that up. But I thought that was important. And the reason for Fiesta, briefly, is, as we know, Cinco de Mayo is partial and relative to Mexico, but there are a lot of other Latin cultures that certainly don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. So going to be a wonderful event for anybody that's ever been to any of Univision's events or red carpet events. I mean, it's really world class. It's a phenomenal organization. We're proud to not only have Univision in town, but to be able to celebrate diversity and recognize 22% of our population that have not had a dedicated event downtown. So please spread the word. Like most events downtown, or like all events downtown, it's going to be a wonderful success. So thank you very much. This Saturday from 4 to 9, and if you're partial to racehorses, just remember that Kentucky Derby only lasts about 5 minutes. So you can sandwich it in around the Kentucky Derby. So we hope to see you there. And thank you, everybody on this committee, for approving the Diversity Outreach Committee and being part and approving this fabulous celebration. So thank you so much. And I think I'll talk more later. We did have some information, but I'll save that for later. So now we're going to move on to the public hearing. Let me see, Audrey?
Yes, I'll just start the hearing for you. This is a request to vacate portions of Riviera Circle, which is at Riverside Drive and Riverdale Lane. You have a green sheet in front of you. At this time, the applicant has requested a continuance, and you received a copy of a letter on that, I believe to June 7th. He is available if you have any questions. Otherwise, this can be continued at this time.
Move to continue.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman Slackton.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you. The next is a public hearing to adopt with changes a comprehensive plan amendment. At this time, I have reviewed the affidavit of publication. It is legally sufficient to proceed forward, and I'm going to read the title block into the record. This is an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, amending the City of Bonita Springs Comprehensive Plan as adopted by ordinance number 02-16 as amended, amending certain elements related to the Bonita Beach Road Visioning Study. 1. Future land use element creating objective 1.16 related to the Bonita Beach Road corridor. 2. Transportation element amending goal 1 for integration of bicycles, pedestrian transit, and vehicular infrastructure. Policy 1.1.6 to add Bonita Beach Road as a constrained road. Policy 1.1.12 for additional criteria for access. Objective 1.2 to incorporate bicycles, pedestrians, transit along the vehicular infrastructure. Objectives 1.3 and 1.4 for complete streets and public view sheds. Policy 1.74 for the bicycle and pedestrian master plan and the Bonita Beach Road Visioning Study. Creating Goal 2 with objectives and policies related to the Bonita Beach Road Vision Study. Adding the Bonita Beach Road Quadrant Map and Corridor Network Zones Map. 3. Capital Improvements element amending priorities to implement vision for a walkable community. 4. Intergovernmental element amending Goal 4 to specify cooperative plans, providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and severability clause, and providing for an effective and other purposes. This is the second public hearing. The first public hearing was after Council's February 1st, 2017 meeting, where after the staff did transmit this to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. And since this is a comprehensive plan amendment, it did go to local planning agency first, and that was on January 19th, 2017. At this time, Arlene will provide an introduction.
Great,
Good
thank
evening.
you.
For the record, Arlene Hunter, Assistant City Manager. I'd like to introduce Dr. Margaret Banyan and her team with Florida Gulf Coast University to do the final presentation on the Bonita Beach Road Vision. As the city attorney stated, we did transmit the ordinance and documents to the Department of Economic Opportunity. During that time, all of our local agencies and partners had the opportunity to review that as well, and we did receive comments, and Dr. Banyan will be going through those comments. We did also attend on April 20th, the Regional Planning Council meeting where Councilman DeWitt was also present by telephone, and we did receive recommendation of approval to move forward as well. So with that, I will introduce Dr. Banyan to present. And as it was stated, you did already have your first public hearing process. This would be the second final adoption hearing at this time.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Welcome back. How are you?
Yes, how are you?
Great.
Good to see everybody again. So I just have a short presentation because we've talked a lot about the vision implementation in the past, so I just have kind of a short presentation to wrap up.
Excuse me.
So, as you know, the vision was completed by Tool Design Group in November, and then after that, following that, we did the comprehensive plan amendments. We sent those up to the state February 1, and that was, of course, based on the vision that was developed through Tool's extensive public involvement process. And then following that, on March 15th, just recently, Council, you adopted the overall preferred alignments based on the quadrant study. So I mentioned those 3 dates because that has impacted just slightly the language that we are putting forward tonight. So we did, as Arlene talked about, we did receive comments from several different agencies. There was no comments of concern. But first, from the Department of Economic Opportunity, they will review the language to make sure it doesn't conflict with any state resources or doesn't conflict with their areas of concern. And they didn't find anything in the language that was going to adversely impact state facilities if adopted. And then the second was Florida Department of Transportation. They review for the state facilities in the city, and they didn't have any issue with it impacting the state facilities within the city. And in addition, they also provided technical assistance comments supporting a multimodal approach. And in addition to that, they also said as you move forward with the implementation, then they would be happy to assist and provide some additional technical assistance. Specifically, they pointed to the new initiatives that they have. So as you might know, Florida DOT has developed a complete streets approach. They have new modern roundabouts guidance. They also have lane elimination guidance. So they were, again, offered that technical assistance to the city as you move forward. And then the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, they found that the change was not regionally significant, and that would be, of course, why they would be concerned. In addition, they didn't think that the amendments conflicted with their strategic regional policy plan, and that didn't conflict with any other comprehensive plans that butted your jurisdiction. So those were all good news, you know, that it didn't conflict with any of the commenting agencies. So there's two changes from the text standpoint that we think that we would like to put forward, and that is to add the word generally in the transportation element. It's objective 2.4. So the reason to add that word generally is to demonstrate that you know, these the map here doesn't it's not a hard and fast sort of boundary. It's a planning tool, and that's consistent with your direction before to use these maps as planning tools to work with and engage with property owners. So we feel like that addition kind of clarifies that a little bit. And then the last sort of text change is to the future land use element. We had this policy 1.16.6, which referred to the maps. We feel like that should be elevated to an objective. So what that will do is allow the city to work with property owners slightly outside the corridor, consistent with the map. And the purpose of that, again, is as a planning tool. We know that the functioning of the corridor means functioning intersection, and the intersection is a little bit broader than the corridor in terms of how you need to plan. So that change would allow that to be more consistent and more clear. Then there's one map change from the first transmittal to adoption, and you'll see on the Bonita Beach Road and 41 intersection, that's consistent now with the quadrant study. So again, I mentioned the quadrant study because that came after we sent the language up to the state. So this map, it's important that it be consistent with the quadrant study and your direction to have those overall preferred alignments in that area. So those are the changes that we would propose. And then I just have the same timeline that we've been working on so you can see where we're at. And right now we would be at the adoption hearing. As with all of the other amendments, we had scheduled 2 adoption hearings just to provide for flexibility if it's something that you wanted to consider further. But we reserved the next meeting in case it needed to be continued. So, questions and your recommendations.
Great, thank you very much for that information. Council, we'll start with you, Amy. So I think you got some notes down there.
I only have one little, and I think there might be a word missing on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amy, the microphone. Sorry about that.
I think there might be a word missing on policy 2.14 between create and between, I think it must mean buffer or something like that, but that's just to show you that I did read this.
Yeah.
That's normally my role, Amy, is to catch typos and omitted
sorry,
words.
but
Good for
I
you.
think everything else I got already.
Policy,
I'm sorry, it's 2.14. Just
Okay.
review that to see if,
we
there's
will
something's
review.
missing there, but
Okay.
good job.
all right, thank you.
Greg?
My only question was, on the quadrant study map, it showed the old 41 area, and I didn't know that we were really looking at that as much as we were the, because when we started talking about the quadrant study, we always concentrated on new 41.
It's the well, I'll let Margaret answer, but. or
I know
should
it's in there, but I
It's
didn't
the
know if it-
connectivity concept.
Okay.
Right, and
Well, I'm
that
just going
was,
by because it said quadrant study.
Oh,
That's all I was looking at.
oh.
so the quadrant study gave us the opportunity or inspired the change in the map from the transmittal to the adoption. So the quadrant study was just 41 and Bonita Beach Road, but previously the quadrant map referred to both of those intersections, and the purpose is, of course, that was what was identified in Tools study as important intersections to look at options for mobility around those intersections.
I just didn't want the state to get hung up that we're not doing any quadrant study on the old 41. It was more so the new 41. That's all. That's my
Right.
only question.
Yeah.
Great, okay,
Well,
thanks, Greg.
I just, I remember when, what's his name was here? Ian Lockwood. Right. So he had the possibility around Old 41
Right.
Beach Road as well of having quadrant connections.
Network.
I just didn't.
Okay.
This is my big question. That's all.
Steve?
Good job, Doc. Thank you.
Okay. Peter?
No, thank you, Margaret, Alexis. Thank you very much.
Mike?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Amy couldn't have said it better myself. No, I didn't notice that word, but great job. And, anything else, I guess at this point, I mean, you've done your work, but anything else, that you might be thinking about or?
Not right now relative
right
to
now.
this. There's a lot I'm thinking
Yeah,
about.
no, okay, yeah.
So we would be looking for a motion to adopt.
Yeah.
Or adopt with changes if that's what you preferred. But I want to hear from Audrey first if there's anything that needs to be.
Obviously, the public.
Yeah, no, and we have a word, I think, but that we're going to look at. And, yeah, if we want to open it up now for the public comment at this time? Okay.
And I just want to point out, there was changes to policy 2.1.4 to create separation between vehicular and non-vehicular traffic. You wanted that to be mentioned as well, the typo, as well as some changes in policy 1.1.6.
So moved. Oh, you need public comment.
Yeah, public comment at this time? Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Charles Bassinet. I'm an attorney with the Henderson Franklin Law Firm in Fort Myers. I'm here representing the owners of a portion of, or a parcel of property in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Old 41 and Bonita Beach Road. The property owner's name is Mir Rouge Properties, Inc. The address is 28521 Bonita Crossings Boulevard and 28471 Bonita Crossings Boulevard. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to make some comments on the record. This is in reference, obviously, to the comprehensive plan amendment that you're discussing. I'm here to object to the adoption of that comprehensive plan amendment. I've reviewed the relevant documents, the goals, policies, and objectives that you're discussing this evening. And the problem that I'm having with it is, and the clients are having with it, is that it appears as if it's not being used as a planning tool, it's being used as a regulatory tool in simple terms. And we're concerned that it's being used to attempt to reserve right-of-way and to do so without offering just compensation to the property owners. We have been assured that that's not the case, that in fact it's being used as a planning tool. However, on April 25th of this year, there was a insufficiency letter issued in connection with a rezoning case that's pending currently. And that rezoning case involves, a portion of it involves my client's property. And that particular insufficiency letter, I think, made it clear that they anticipate, they being the city, anticipates that we're going to reserve those rights of way consistent with what your quadrant study says. And the reason I say that is, and I'm going to quote you some brief sections from this insufficiency letter, again dated April 25th, 2017, and issued by Mike Fliegen, your one of the planners. And it indicates on page 5 that the applicant is on notice that the Bonita Beach Road Visioning Implementation Comprehensive Plan amendments containing the quadrant zone map are scheduled for a May 3, 2017 adoption public hearing before City Council. The companion LDC amendments will be pursued in the next few months. Attached is a copy of the review letter provided by McMahon and Associates, Inc. And then in that review letter, and that was issued on April 11th of 2017, paragraph number 3, it's actually numbered 3 towards the bottom of the first page. The quadrant plan envisions a 30 to 40 foot right-of-way corridor generally found in the easternmost property lines of various parcels of land, including that of the subject property. That particular alignment would traverse the eastern property from the northernmost property line corner and extend southerly and connect to Wake Fern Drive. 3A, we would recommend that there be a minimum 50-foot preservation of right-of-way at the connection of Wake Fern Drive and across the lake for any future consideration. B, we also recommended a 30 to 40-foot right-of-way along the entire eastern boundary of the property and a 30-foot right-of-way preservation along the entire northern boundary of the property. I think, as you can see, and I see the lights flashing here, I'll
You know, no,
finish up.
please, I'm sorry. No, go right ahead.
All I was going to say was that I realize that this is a new regulation. And what we're seeing thus far is that, number one, if you read through the document, there are a number of goals, policies, and objectives that appear to say that you have a visioning study, here's where it's located, and you should be preserving that right-of-way. Further, the implementation of that appears to be that, in fact, the city is asking for the reservation or preservation of that right-of-way. I don't think that's legal. I think that what you're attempting to do, or what it appears is being attempted to do, is to take right-of-way without just compensation. So that's the concern I have. Again, I appreciate the time that you've given me this evening to make the comments, but I would ask that you delay adoption of this And if you would review those provisions and make the changes that are necessary to make it into a planning document as opposed to a regulatory document. Thank you very much
Great.
for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Wayne Arnold. I'm a planner with Q. Grady Minor and Associates here in Bonita Springs, and I'm here to comment on the comprehensive plan amendments that are before you. And Chuck happens to represent the seller of the property that my client is purchasing. And I appeared before you a few weeks ago when you were adopting the quadrant study and objected to inclusion of the southeast quadrant study because of the impacts it had to my client's property. And the impact that Chuck didn't mention is we mapped these proposed right-of-way reservations across the property and then included some offsets for easements where you can't build a public road anyway because there's drainage and utility easements. And it's almost a 5-acre reservation over a 27-acre piece of property that you're asking, your consultant is asking our client to reserve during our zoning application. It's such a significant impact that it probably takes away the entire viability of developing the entire site. And it doesn't recognize the fact that there's already a platted public road network about 300 feet away from the request that's being made of our client. So that southeast quadrant study, the real complication is north by the Winn-Dixie Shopping Center that gets to the signal at Arroyo. On the south end, you have a series of frontage roads, and what your consultant is recommending that you do is to extend these like Woods Edge Parkway and some of the other roads farther east, and they would run parallel to the Spanish Wells property line all the way north behind other properties to get to the signal. It may be a well thought out plan, but it's completely unviable from the standpoint of developing a piece of property that has RM2 zoning and CPD zoning on it today, and we're trying to rezone it to an RPD. So it doesn't work, and as Chuck said, it's a little confusing to read the actual policies because you're linking a couple different visioning studies to what's already designated the Bonita Beach Road corridor. And then further, even though we're calling this a planning tool, there is reference in these policies to going back to the visioning study, which includes these very specific map references. And so I would object to the inclusion of those references because I think it's really clouding this. And I think, as Mr. Bassinet mentioned, this went from a planning tool to language that your consultant says. I'll read a brief excerpt if I can. It says, assuming the plan amendments are adopted and become final before your application is approved by the city, our comments are as follows. And Mr. Bassinet read from you a couple of those, but the key is he didn't reference these as planning tools. He referenced these as right-of-way reservations. Very big distinction and a huge impact on our property. So I would hope that you would delay the adoption of these to take care of some of these nuances with the language to make sure that it is a planning tool. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Other members of the public? Good evening.
Good evening. Mike Liggins with Horizon Park Investments. As property owners along Bonita Beach Road at the interchange on the southeast corner of I-75 and Bonita Beach Road. These properties are right at the 4 quadrants of the interchange. We think that these properties are unique. And even unique from properties immediately adjacent to them. We do share the council's vision for creating a project that is nice, a very nice entryway into the city, something that is designed and landscaped nicely, and we're not opposed to the amendments, but what we want to do is be able to work with staff during the LDC implementation to make sure that the design of the corridor specifically at the interchange and the off-ramps is both practical and it takes into account the uniqueness of being at an interchange. The visioning study does not currently address this, and some of the comments that we've seen through our planning and rezoning, again, it's not really being implemented as a planning tool, but as a strict guideline. So we'd like for you to reconsider that portion of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Dan DeLisi. I'm a land use planner, and I'm a consultant for Mike. So the property, again, that we're specifically concerned about is the southeast quadrant of I-75. Again, we're not opposed to the amendment. The policies are fairly innocuous if you take them as planning tools. The moment you make them regulatory, that is where we have some concerns and in the implementation of them. Our main concern, first of all, we don't object to complete streets. I mean, that's a great planning tool. Multimodal streets, again, a great planning tool, something we should strive for in this community. We also don't object to the vision in general. That's your vision as a city, and we're happy to be part of that. What we do have concerns with is the idea that the I-75 interchange is going to be a pedestrian-oriented corridor, and that is how the Tool Design Group is looking at it, a pedestrian-oriented corridor. And that may seem odd to some of you when you think about it. Obviously, you have off-ramps and on-ramps there. It will never transition into a pedestrian-oriented corridor. When I look at this study, one of the things I see are some great planning ideas that are out of context for what's really happening in the city and what I've heard this council and prior councils talk about. So in other words, if you want a pedestrian-oriented corridor, an urban cross-section where people walk to the stores that they go shopping at, there are only two places that happens, without exception, only two places. In a high-density area, downtown Boston, Manhattan, downtown Miami, Cayocho, I mean, those are the places where that can happen, or in a concentrated node. And yet, this corridor lays out that vision for 4.2 miles of corridor. It's not a concentrated node, 4.2 miles where your idea is to have buildings right up against the road. Now, I'm not opposed to buildings up against the road either. I was the planner back 15 years ago for the Estero community when we proposed something similar along the Corkscrew Road corridor. But we've learned a lot in the last 15 years on what we did right and what we did wrong. And one of the things we did right was we recognized back then that the interchange is distinctly different than everything else. So if you look at the Corkscrew interchange, that type of design concept is not implemented there because of the way the right-of-way is structured, the FDOT right-of-way between the actual pavement, the road pavement, and the buildings. It's not conducive for it. The uses that your comp plan says should be at the interchange are not conducive for pedestrian-oriented environments. And the fact is, in Bonita Springs, east of I-75, you don't have the density that you'd be looking at to create that. You have crew, you have the DRGR. Unless you're going to increase density in the DRGR, you're not going to find the density to create a pedestrian-oriented environment. And so you'll hear more about this later as their property moves through the process. But again, to the extent that this is a planning tool, we're fine with it. The vision to create a nice, beautiful Bonita Beach Road corridor, a nice entryway into the city, our clients are fully on board with that. The vision to create a pedestrian-oriented corridor at the interchange itself where people walk to stores along Bonita Beach Road, I think that's a planning concept out of context in this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none? Audrey.
At this time, council, does staff want to do a recap of changes, or other than the one change I read into the record? I believe we have another change on page 27.
I think we're good with the changes. Let's focus in on the typo and then the one other change, I think.
Yeah, that actually came up at the LPA, and it didn't make your documents. So
didn't make the final cut, did it?
Right. The missing word was, and I'll read the whole policy. Where possible, locate planted buffer areas between the travel lanes of Bonita Beach Road and multi-use pathways and sidewalks to create separation between vehicular and non-vehicular traffic and enhance bicycle pedestrian safety. So the missing word was separation. And I've made a note of it.
Okay, great.
And the other changes on 31 of your document, which is page 27 of the transportation element, correct? Future land use element. And this is objective 1.1.6. Jackie?
Good evening, City Council. That change essentially would be the objective heading in bold. We would add after Bonita Beach Road corridor, we would add and Bonita Beach Road corridor quadrant map to the heading. Originally, we wanted to go ahead and break it out as a separate objective, and that is in reference to policy 1.16.6. Ideally, if we could create another objective, we preferred that. However, the title block is so specific that we cannot do that without re-advertising the whole ordinance. So the more efficient manner is to go ahead and just add the reference to the map in the objective heading.
Okay. Council, questions? Fred?
Yeah, I have a question to Audrey. We've had 3 different people get up, attorneys primarily, land planners, objecting. Is there any?
There is concern. We did receive a letter from Russell and Andrus. Mayor Simmons received it, and I forwarded it to council, and it is in the record, and we've taken the documents. I did talk to outside special counsel, and at this point they said just take the information and council, do what you need to do based on policy, and there may be some additional instructions I'll provide you during the city attorney portion.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Move the motion.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Further discussion. Amy?
I was just going to ask, because of some of the questions that were raised, there's nothing in the wording here that suggests that this is regulatory. Is that true or not true? I guess it's a rhetorical question. Or is that debatable? Or you don't want to answer it now?
So there are concerns because when it's used as a planning tool, there's 2 Florida Supreme Court cases that we look at. So there's one that when it's a planning tool, the clock has not started on any kind of regulatory taking, and that is the Wright versus Palm Beach County. So we've had outside counsel look at language, tweak, to try to make sure our lines were not definitive. And we used 2 counsels. We used outside land use counsel and also my eminent domain counsel, who also does inverse condemnation. So we had both of them looking at things. So when you look at your quadrant map, it's more spatially over because it's not saying there's a specific alignment. Now, you have adopted alignment maps, but that is something that's your preference. I would presume that while we're proceeding during planning stages during the years, there will be give and take on that alignment. Certainly, now I understand northeast, northwest is more firm, but in the southern portion or southeast portion, I think that is something, alignment discussions, both not just with community development staff, but public works staff, will be critical in making some of those decisions.
But there's nothing in the language of the comprehensive.
I don't think so,
No.
and that's
Okay,
why we
that's
tried
just-
to be very careful. Now, obviously, it is your intent to preserve alignment so that you're able, but we don't have a line in the sand saying it must be at this specific location.
I was just going to add to that. The specific language before you is not implementing direct pathways or right-of-way takings. As you've heard some of the speakers say, it is a planning tool that begins the discussion with future developers. We have not yet begun to draft the implementation language, which is the Land Development Code, which would be a public hearing process. We would be looking for input on that through that whole process. So this is the first step of taking the Bonita Beach Road vision and then bringing it into the comprehensive plan as the vision. And from there would be set forth to move forward with Land Development Code implementation, which we would encourage public participation through that process, working with Audrey as well as special counsel through that, so that we are making sure that nothing is considered in any kind of inappropriate taking.
Thank you.
And I want to make it very clear, too, our land development regulations do address compensation, and whether it's in the form of impact fee credits, proportionate fair share. There are mechanisms in which property owners can get compensated during these processes, or we provide cash, which is another thing that you just did a budget resolution on, so.
We know how to do that. Thanks.
Okay. Council, anything else? It's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slakta. Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. Okay, Audrey, anything else?
Second, please.
Yeah, so, yeah. A lot of words there.
There is a lot of words. That was comp plan. We do.
Not as many as I had earlier, but,
Yes.
but have at it.
And you did great. I have a zoning ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, considering a request by Horizon Park Investments LLC to rezone from commercial plan development, CPD, and tourist commercial, CT, to CPD, providing for a maximum of 150,000 square feet of commercial floor area and a 150-room hotel or 145-bed assisted living facility located at the southwest intersection of Bonita Beach Road and Hunters Ridge Boulevard, southeast quadrant of Bonita Beach Road and Interstate I-75, providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of the ordinance. The ordinance will be scheduled for a public hearing, at which time we will proceed with the full public hearing on the zoning on May 15th, starting at 9 a.m. in these chambers.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Okay. Audrey,
Public comment?
you're good? I just didn't know if you had any,
Is there public comment?
any miscellaneous comments, or you're good? Okay, great. Great job, Audrey.
Miscellaneous.
Yeah, miscellaneous are allowed by Audrey. Okay, public comment. Members of the public who'd like to speak, please come forward. Rick,
Yeah.
ladies before gentlemen, come on now.
Yeah, well, she waved me on,
Age
but
before
anyways.
beauty, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, age before beauty. She's older than me. Get up here.
That was
Kathy, come on up. No.
ungentlemanly.
All right.
No, I just want to thank the mayor for his state of the city, and I want to thank all you all for all the hard work and the good job you're doing for the city of Bonita Springs. I'm really proud of you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you. Mrs. Kathy McGrath, hello there.
Kathy McGrath. Amy, this is directed at you. The day Bobby was here about this Meals of Hope, and I have participated before. I mean, I've seen 8-year-olds do it, so it's simple. Production line. I mean, you weigh, you throw this cup in and that and this. I offered because I think what she really wanted was the $500, 10 people with $50 each, and I thought, well, if you couldn't get enough people, but I still will do it. All I want to know is, do I give you the check for $50? Just send me an email. Yeah. Okay. Send me an email. All right. But it's really a fun thing. I've seen kids 8 and 9 years old do it, and it's for a good cause too. So Meals of Hope. You mean she doesn't Anyway, want us to work? here I am, the 4th short film fest. I mean, okay, this is May the 3rd, but you know November 2nd is right around the corner, and that's the gala. All I want to tell you all is, anyone watching, all you need is an idea. If you don't have the equipment, if you don't have the props, just a clever idea. And remember, this year the theme is Historic Bonita Springs. Antonio is there to help you with, if you don't want to have your camera, you don't want to use your smartphone. He's got props, he's got actors, he's got everything you would ever want. So please, we're really encouraging businesses to step up too, not only individuals. There's a lot of categories. The website, all you have to do is go on www.bonitaspringsfilmfestival.com. All the information is there, and it's such a fun thing. So come on, everybody. Think. There's a lot of talented people around town that will have ideas. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Other members of the public? Okay, seeing none, city attorney's report.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you on consent for approving my contract for next year.
Oh, did we do that?
You didn't pull it, so thank you. Okay.
And I thought I wore my heart on my sleeve, Amy. Very good.
Ouch. I'd like to pull, I'd like to start with item C, and then because to have continuity on items A, B, and then I have a walk-on, and then I have another thing I'd like to talk to you about. So item C is the one thing that's a little bit different, and it is to approve an assignment. The assignment will cost $15,000 and also reimburse Florida Fidelity Realty the $5,000 as deposit to the escrow. This is to kick off your quadrant plan in the northeast quadrant. It's the one parcel that McMahon, John DePalma, said would need to be a whole take. It's expensive, but it's also on US 41. Because we did it more quiet than normal, there is the statute requires a 30-day hold on actually approving the contract, but that's going to happen pretty soon. But we can start doing our due diligence upon acceptance of the assignment. And you have all the instructions there. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, counsel? Peter?
No other to say thank you, particularly to Carl, for his good work on this. And, you know,
Ditto me, I think you did a great job here, because I know we were really worried about getting that property, and I think we did it in absolutely the correct process, and it's worth the $15,000 that we have to pay.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah, good job to everybody involved.
Right. Great.
so moved.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Carumba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Thank you. Now I have some permissions to advertise, and we can pretty much do A, B, a walk-on D, and another ordinance, and I'll discuss that with you in 1 second. So let's start with the first one. This is the design standards. This was requested on April 5th. I worked with, by Councilmember Forbes, and then Council, of course, approved that. This has the requirements for the primary facade, and then when we went into it and talked with Sam Vincent, there were additional changes that made sense. If you look on page 2, you have all the different changes that will be reflected. Requiring additional screening, requiring that if a building has more than one function, for example, it has parking under, say, commercial, there needs to be design standards for both. You don't just build an ugly parking and then a nice-looking building. There's other requirements in here as far as if it's a literal interpretation, that then means you can't build it. Staff can make the changes administratively. Facade standards, of course, the big thing was adding to the residential, not just street view, and making those changes. Now, it does mean a potential that there could be a building with 4 primary facades that will cost more for developers to build, but from an aesthetic viewpoint, it's not as if somebody's going to see that empty wall or chopped up wall. There's also additional site standard requirements. For example, we spent a lot of time, I want to say in 2001 or 2002, on rooftop mechanical equipment, but we never focused on ground-mounted mechanical equipment. And so there's now requirement for screening of the ground-mounted generators, air conditioners, things that are out there. So it's also integrated into the building design. We did it similar to what council did, I believe, a month ago as to plan developments with sufficiency timeframe. We also increased the time period for sufficiency to go through the design standard process. And a lot of changes that before we had significant language as to loading areas, but now we're also talking about not just for the overhead doors, adding in service doors, dumpsters, loading docks, all the other things out there that need screening. The ordinance was reviewed by the local planning agency at their April 13th meeting, and they voted for approval. I believe it was 6-0. And they were happy with it. John Dulmer can answer any questions as to it, and I'll advertise it for June 7th and June 21st.
Great. Council, any question? Thank you, Audrey. Council, any questions of John Dulmer?
No.
Okay.
Any questions or
Yeah.
pertaining to this?
On this subject.
All right.
So moved.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba?
Aye.
Okay.
In being the economically conscientious attorney I am, incidentally, when we advertise an ordinance, it costs about I'd say roughly $1,000 to put in a display ad. And it has to be yes, it has to be organized. That's why I like to do groups together. It has to be
We get a
advertised at
discount
least
for
twice.
volume.
Right, I get a volume discount. So basically, that's
Do
what I'm
1,000 then.
that's what I'm doing tonight, is going for the volume discount here. So this is the supermajority ordinance, again, the same dates. You've heard so much about it, I don't feel I need to explain it any further, but just so I can put it on the same group. And these will be the dates, the June 7th, June 21st. It was re-reviewed, because it was the second time it was reviewed, by the local planning agency, and they were fine with it, 6-0. The meeting went very easy.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
The next ordinance is a walk-on ordinance. It's actually a set of two ordinances. And the two ordinances came from a discussion with Theriac and Spain. It was actually Attorney Terrell Arline and I. And we had a problem on 4-303 as to a floating sentence. So what is a floating sentence? It means it could be either a Scrivener's error, or what did it mean that it applied to the whole document? So we had some confusion there, so he felt we could either clarify the ordinance, and so the first ordinance you have is to clarify, and the sentence was that the director may require additional information as described in section 4-295 if necessary to review the request, that would apply to both reinstatements and extensions of master concept plans. So that is ordinance number 1 to this green sheet. Because of title block and trying to figure out how to word things, I wrote a separate ordinance because in his email to me attaching his recommendations for this ordinance, we talked about the concept of removing reinstatements. Now, what this means, a reinstatement is what occurs when a master concept plan has expired. You can resurrect it from its death through a reinstatement. It's different than an extension where the property owner made sure they kept getting, whether it's going to the state of emergency, whether it's the legislative extensions that the legislature did a few years ago during recession, or through the city's own extension process, which is outlined in this ordinance. This is one that the ordinance people did not pay attention. It died. Now, we will need to continue processing any reinstatements that we have here now. A concern I've had, not just from this city council, but other city councils, is the concern that if you have a reinstatement, anybody can bring anything back, even if it's a 10-year-old, master concept plan that's been long gone. And what this says in this ordinance, and it was worked on today, so it's still, I'll probably have some amendments to it very soon, is that the city will not permit reinstatements of master concept plans except if we receive an application before August 1, 2017. Now remember, we have in our charter a 30-day effective date, and this ordinance will not be scheduled for advertisements or for public hearings until the final hearing is, I believe, June 21st? Yes. So that's at the 30-day effective date, and that's effectively 10 days. But it gives people notice, and of course, the ones that were in the hopper will still be processed. And this gives staff a little more certainty and allows us to be able to have more certainty of things that have gone through before.
But the extension process remains.
Extension remains.
Right.
And council did quite a bit of changes. I believe it was 2011? No, it had to be later. Because I remember you talking during it, Mayor Simmons, during that process, because that went through significant changes a few years ago.
I would make a motion to move those both.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slakta.
Great. Audrey, anything else?
Oh, yes. So, I was on the phone in between the two council meetings today, regarding the letters of objection to the comprehensive plan amendment. And there is likelihood that one or more property owners may file objections to the comp plan amendment, which the council adopted tonight. What I'm also proposing, so the comp plan amendment pursuant to Florida statute section 163-3184 would go into effect 31 days after tonight's hearing, unless there are objections filed where people are actually challenging the comp plan amendment and actually have standing. As a precautionary method, and because I need to meet the May 11th LPA meeting, so it's not just council, as well as the advertisement, I would like to propose a moratorium in the Bonita Beach Road corridor for processing zoning applications in that corridor for up to 1 year or until the Bonita Beach Road visioning goes into effect. I think that could probably help us as we go forward. Of course, I have not written the moratorium ordinance yet. This is only to ask permission to do so. It would go to the LPA at their May 11th meeting, along with the two you just approved to go forward, and then it would be added to the same advertisement.
You need a motion or consensus? Okay.
No, I'd like a motion.
Okay.
There's that word, Audrey.
Yeah, I would just like, I don't quite understand what you're, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
What's the
moratorium we're gonna do?
Yeah, I don't understand, first of all.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
explain the consequences of what we're doing here.
Okay, so when staff reviews a zoning application, they are limited in their review to what is existing in either the comprehensive plan or the land development code or other land development regulations. Staff cannot review in anticipation that we're going to have ordinances in effect. If someone or other people delay as a result of the challenge, instead of it being 30 days, 31 days till the effective date of this comp plan amendment, it could go 6 months, a year, up to the challenge. So what I'm recommending is to have a moratorium in place, at least for council's consideration. Now, remember, today is May 3rd. If no one challenges it, you don't go to second reading till June 21st. So if no one challenges it, we're going to withdraw this. But this allows, because a moratorium is a land use ordinance, you are required to have that ordinance go to the local planning agency, and I want to make sure I can meet that May 11th deadline. It makes sure that council has that available as a tool if they need that tool. If you don't need it, we just don't adopt it.
So this is not an approval tonight, this is putting yourself, so you're keeping the playing field ahead of you and starting the process.
That's correct. So what I would be doing, normally I like to have something physical because I'm a visual learner. I like to show you paper that shows a moratorium. It's all nicely written. You can review it. What I'm asking tonight is for me to be able to have it go to LPA on May 11th, for me to draft it, for me to have it on May 11th, for me to give it to the city clerk so it gets advertised along with the other ordinances. And then following all of that, you would have hearings on June 7th and June 21st. If by June 7th, we know that nobody is challenging and the time period has now lapsed, we don't have to do anything. We just added it to a volume advertising anyway. If we do need to have it, we have it in the hopper.
And we have the option to approve or not approve at that time.
Right.
Are any other procedures being I mean, let's say we have to use it, you know, that we are challenged and it takes 6 months. So the alternative is not to implement the comprehensive plan changes as proposed tonight?
No, it is to adopt the ordinance tonight. That's why I wanted to make it very clear. That was a policy call of council, not a legal question, so I wanted to handle this during my item and not confuse the matters. Council has now adopted it. It will now go back to, Jackie will send the letter to, it was an expedited review. Jackie will send the package to Department of Economic Opportunity, at which point members of the public have a right to challenge, and if their challenge is accepted and if they have standing, they can then make the challenge, and it goes through a 120 hearing, not the city council because we're now a party, and at which point we can, of course, defend, the comp plan amendment, and people would challenge the comp plan amendment, and there could be some final decision-making.
But while we're going through this process, we can't proceed with the land development code adjustments that would be necessary to implement that. Is that
No,
correct?
you could not, but also, and more important, you cannot use the Bonita Beach Road quadrant as the law of Bonita Springs, because at that point, it does not go in place. It is held in abeyance until all challenges are complete.
I thought at one point you said it wasn't the law of the land, it was just a
I
tool.
just said, I thought it.
No, I meant
Oh,
earlier.
as far as regulatory tool
Yes.
versus, no.
So that's the question that Amy asked earlier about, is this regulatory or is it planning?
No, it's planning, but it's not a planning tool that you can use. For example, when you need substantial competent evidence when you approve a zoning case, right? So the substantial competent evidence, when the planners are determining what is substantial competent, it has to be based on what is in our comp plan and the land development regulations as they exist at the time of the review.
Audrey, can I stop you right there just for a second? Arlene?
I just want to clarify, I think what you might be asking, Councilwoman, is what is the concern of having moratorium? And the issue is that community development's hands are tied. We know that it takes 31 days from today to become law. At that point, when applicants come into the door, we will be showing them the visioning, the Bonita Beach Road visioning document, and be able to implement that into the comments that are provided. Granted, those are not the land development code changes, but they are the vision, and they would be part of the comments that developers receive. And that starts at day 31. We can't use an anticipated approved legislation document. But should there be a challenge filed with the Department of Economic Opportunity and that clock starts going and it's not 31 days, it's 6 months or 90 days, what then happens that whole time, community development is not permitted to implement the Bonita Beach Road visioning study in their comments to those developers. So we want to be crystal clear when we're having those conversations as quickly as possible with the developers, that they understand the goals, objectives, and policies which are in the comprehensive plan amendments. And that would be the reason for the moratorium, is that we could then wait in processing those.
So the way you get around that is to delay any movement on applications during the moratorium, but that is a problem for applicants.
Correct, that could be a concern.
So I just want to say are these our only two choices? As any other thing possible? I mean, I'm going to vote to go forward with your recommendation, but it seems to me there ought to be something better than those two.
We could write up the moratorium similar to what I have done in the past, which allowed limited, for example, I believe with storage, when we did zoning in progress, we had certain ones that could proceed forward because they were at a certain level.
Or if the developer were willing to comply with voluntarily, then we
Sure.
could proceed with that. I think I wouldn't. The Bonita Beach Road corridor is 4 miles.
That's correct. And good evening.
Good evening.
What we're looking at now is a situation where this council has made it very clear what your vision for that road is. And we have applications and we've had discussions that are going forward that will change the character of that road. What we would like to do is to make sure that we are in a position when we process these applications so that we are actually implement your vision into those plans. What I think has happened is if there is a challenge, and everybody keeps talking about delays and challenges, what happens is if there is a challenge and there is no moratorium, we have no direction. We are no further along towards accomplishing your vision than we are today. Because the regulations will not be effective. And what I think this vehicle does is it allows you, if there's not going to be the ability to enforce the rules, we don't have to worry about processing applications during that time. Now, if something happens where either a challenge never comes or a challenge is resolved, then we can go about from that point forward, getting rid of the moratorium and processing applications again. However, if you want your vision to become a reality, we need to make sure that it's in place and we are able to enforce that vision as soon as possible. Because every application that comes in is one more project where your intent is not going to be realized.
I understand the importance of getting that vision implemented, but I just am trying to figure out how we could do this in an efficient way and not, I mean.
Unfortunately, you're in a position where only a draconian type step prevents.
But we could write the moratorium in a way that we could have provisions where people could just comply voluntarily, and then we would process the application. Is that correct?
I will agree with the attorney.
That's what I would like to see, something along those lines.
Okay.
I'd like to move the motion.
Okay. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Mike, I'm
I
sorry.
agree with Amy. It needs to be written so that way there is a relief valve for
Right.
something.
Okay.
Ditto.
Ditto. All right.
Got lots of dittos.
The only other question, in the beginning, Audrey, did you say we already have a letter, or and we're anticipating a letter?
No, yesterday I sent you the letter that Beverly Grady had sent Mayor Peter Simmons, dated May 2nd, 2017. It was only sent via email. I was copied, the city clerk was copied, and so I forwarded it to the remainder of city council along with community development staff and management, basically incorporating by reference their prior objections, and then included on the correspondence was an additional attachment notifying DEO of their objection that they wanted to have it placed in the record on February 24th at DEO.
So it's just a letter of objection,
Just a
not
letter.
a letter of challenge.
It's not a challenge at this
Gotcha.
time. That's premature. And again, it might not come to fruition, and this work I've done is for nothing.
Further discussion?
Good work.
Ditto. Roll call, please.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Caramba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilman Slackton.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye. Great. Audrey,
That's enough.
you're good? That's enough. All right. Carl, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. We're going to probably doing some tag teaming in the city manager's report tonight, so I'll just warn you, you're going to see a lot of different faces. First off, review of the monthly financial reports. They've been submitted to council. We stand by for any questions you might have. And seeing none, we'll move
Wait, just a minute.
right along. Oh, I'm
Council,
sorry.
yeah, Amy?
Just on the balance
Diving in.
sheet, I think I know the answer to this, but since we did have our workshop on the Everglades Wonder Garden, what the receivables of $3,000,004, what is that related to the Wonder Garden?
That's the $3 million of the Wonder Gardens and the $400,000 mortgage with Pueblo Bonito.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, council?
Ann's dying for some more questions.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Ann.
I
Appreciate
think
that.
we're good.
Okay. Arlene's got B. Arlene?
Good evening. As per City Council's direction, we did draft the request for proposals for multi-use paths. It is important to note that this is for a consultant to assist hand-in-hand with staff and council in knowing the best and showcasing the best and brightest ideas that are out there. We did receive 7 proposals, all of which staff reviewed for the minimum qualifications, which were met. At this point, we would be looking for direction from council on how you'd like to move forward with the review of these proposals. And we stand by for any questions and the way we can assist.
Okay. Council, what do you think? We got,
I'm looking forward, I'm looking for some guidance from staff, because I don't know about anybody else that read all this stuff, but I think everyone I went through, I said, oh, I like that one, I like this one, I like this one. So
I know it.
Anyway, I have sort of things that I'm not sure how to segregate these according to these things, but I think we should be certain that that the candidates could give us a high-end, exciting model with distinctive features for our sense of place. And so somehow we have to evaluate the ones that would contribute a very significant creativity to it. And also, some of them we already have relationships with the principals, and I am, you know, we always like to work with people we know, so that there's sort of a tendency to include them, and I would like to include them, but I also think it's important that we have non-associated organizations do that. And I also think there might be an importance if some of these have better connections with partners that we might have in the future, because this is going to be a model, and we're going to be asking for some support, some financial support. So if they're used to working with them, and those are my three sort of overall general criterions. But I don't know how you do apply that to these three. So I would like for some guidance. I don't know if anybody else have a different way.
Council, Peter.
Yeah, I had a few comments. First of all, it's a great group of organizations. I'm going to comment or two, and also a request of council on process with respect to this, which is, so the notion, so this is coming to council. That's the way the RFP was written, and it will come to us for a decision. However, I think it's hopefully clear that this is not like the Beach Road visioning. This is not, so it's meant, as Arlene and Matt have talked about it and makes sense to me, to give them the opportunity to work. Well, let me start with a basic. Matt doesn't need an expert to put down asphalt. He doesn't need to hire an expert to put a French drain in and to cover a swale. All right. So the notion is kind of what Amy was talking about, having an expert or two working together in a limited way, available to staff to come in with really innovative, bright ideas. So it's really a limited role. It is not meant to be financially a massive exercise for us. And that's the way it was always intended. So to me, that's, at least personally, what I'll be looking for when we interview, and it is set up to interview them. The request I have is that because they will be working so intensely with Arlene, well, with staff, particularly with Arlene and Matt, that we do get input from them and staff in general on questions we could ask. And actually, at the time the decision is made, it is a council's decision, but at that point, I would like to definitely ask staff for their view as to choice at the time.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Mike? Fred?
No, I think the real key is going to be the interviews. And I would add, having done this many, many times, there's another way we could do this, which council might be interested in. You have 2 interviews. The first one is simply the team comes in, introduces themselves to you, extols what they've done in the past. From that, you'll get this information on which ones should be able to do it. And from that, you could narrow that group down to 3, maybe 2, might be 4. And then in that next interview, then they come in and should spend their interview talking about what they see about Bonita and what they think they can do for us to give us this model for what we're looking for Bonita. So you could do a 2-step interview if you want to do it. It'll take more time, but you may get a better result.
Okay. I guess just personally, I don't think we need to do that here.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, it's almost to me the way Matt and Arlene and Carl can reach out to Ian Lockwood now, or they frequently reach out to John De Palma now.
Right.
And so it's really, and actually when I saw this, and I don't want to prejudge but you know, there are some in here with like 8 or 9 connected consultants, and I know that can be impressive, but I'm saying to myself, we really just kind of want a key person.
Right.
Is that fair? Is Matt here? Or? I'm saying, well, you guys, you should be
Matt Feeney, Public Works Director, for the record. Yeah, I would say that, you know, the intent of the scope, as Arlene put it, and it is what we've heard here, was for creativity and cutting edge ideas for pathway design, things that we wouldn't think of, and our, you know, run of the mill folks that we typically would use maybe wouldn't be aware of. So some kind of national component with creativity, and then possibly the ability, if that process went well, to just do the simple design. Obviously, we'll build it, we'll bid it, we'll construct it, but really the creativity, and then the ability to translate that creativity into a plan that we can then go out and build.
Arlene, is that sound?
Correct, and that's stated in the RFP that
Right.
that the council reserves the right to take a second step in this process, should you choose to work with that particular firm on guiding later.
Right.
And then, of course, later, another step would be bidding out that construction process. So these are all separate steps.
Okay. Amy.
But how do you evaluate this on the basis of creativity? I mean, they have all kinds of pictures in here, and there's some that I like better than others. Is that practical to do it on that basis, or?
Well, that's certainly a first step in a way to take a look at it. From going through these processes and sitting on some similar boards, typically, and this is just personal experience, it really kind of comes out at the presentation level. You can, if you know what you're looking for, which I think has been stated about the idea of cutting edge ideas for this, it's really then communicated best when you see how they address that question to you through their presentation. It almost becomes so clear that, at least from my experience, that you know who understands the problem that the city's trying to address at that point.
But we still have to differentiate. We're not going to have 7 presentations, are we? I mean, that's impractical.
Actually, we are.
What?
Actually, we are.
I mean, is that practical, or?
The city has done that previously before, and the example would be the Bonita Beach Road Vision Study. We did see, because there was elements in all of the submitted proposals, council did decide to receive all of the presentations.
Right.
Now, you do have in the green sheet the ability to discuss the council making a shorter list of those, but if you feel that there is importance in each of them, that's actually the right of the council.
That's not an unreasonable request.
It's not unreasonable
Okay,
to ask
well,
to see all 7.
Then I'd make a motion that we have them all give us a presentation.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slakta? Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
And we as staff were happy to help draft some questions that
Yeah.
might delve a little bit deeper into trying to pull out that creativity questions you have, and maybe focus on some of their examples and be able to provide you some
I think that would be great.
guidance
Be
in
great.
that. And then please feel free to revise those any way you like during the presentations.
Arlene,
Sorry, Greg.
I just had a quick, I'm sorry, Peter. When we grade them, are you guys gonna give us a Rubik's to grade it, or is this gonna be on our personal opinion? Is it gonna be a scoring sheet?
When we provide you with the draft questions, you'll be able to use that through the evaluation criteria.
That's what I mean. Are we gonna have it?
You'll be able to rank all 7 of those, and we'll work with the city attorney on that. And
Right.
then,
Right, the statute, and remember that it says that you'll follow 287-055, which is the requirement for this. So what the statute states for competitive selection is you're to look at whether the firm is qualified. You consider factors such as the ability of a professional personnel, whether the firm is a certified minority business enterprise, past performance, willingness to meet time and budget requirements, location, recent, current, and projected workloads of the firm, volume of work previously awarded, so that you give equitable distribution with other firms, qualified firms, provided that it doesn't violate principles of selection of the most highly qualified. So it's holistic as far as, how you think the person's going to approach the project and capability of getting the work done and being able to assist. So council can prioritize. It's not going to be a numeric where you get 5 for this, 10
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
That's why I was asking if it was gonna be
Likewise,
like that.
I'm not sure what funding we're using for this project, because if there is any federal or CDBG funding at all, okay, because preference. But, and that would just mean whether or not you wish to use the local preference. If you can't use local preference for federal funds such as CDBG or state funds that use federal.
I want to clarify, that's
Yeah.
not part of this process. This
Right.
process is the selection of the consultant to assist us in the design innovations. That would be a second step.
And the concept started out, we want people with, national reputation who've been around the block on this issue.
Floating
Right.
roundabouts.
Good
Right.
point.
What for, oh, right.
Building roundabouts?
But I assume council's all right with as part of our process, asking staff for their recommendation?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
We appreciate that. I just want to add to council
Yeah.
that what you will find, it's been my experience, when you go through this process, even though you're interviewing 7, 2 or 3 will easily rise to the top for all of you.
Right.
I mean, the discussion will come down to 2 or 3, and maybe even fewer than that when you're looking to select a firm.
Great. Council, anything else on this? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, C. Now, my green sheet talks about discussing and modifying as necessary the list of proposed workshops yet to be conducted by council. As you'll recall, when council came into office, there was a number of things that you wanted workshops on.
Right.
A lot of water has gone under the bridge in a year. We've covered a lot of those issues, and based on my review of what you have not yet discussed, as well as some that have been requested over time as we've gone along, this is the list I believe is left for council to review, both from your original list as well as what's been added along the way. And I was curious if council is comfortable with this list, if you would like to modify it in any way. If you choose that certain things need to come off, that's fine. And then if you could maybe give us some general priority of what's more important for you to discuss sooner than later, we'll try to manage the list and get it to you, to give you the opportunity to have those discussions.
I think this is a great list. Yeah, looking for comments now?
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. If I
And
might.
any direction,
absolutely.
any direction you have, yes.
Well, one thing that strikes me, 13, the Water Task Force, and there's another one that kind of nudges up against the DRGR. And now, we do have litigation out there, so subject to what Audrey would say, and it doesn't have to be figured out today.
Right.
To me, these are subsets of one of our basic priorities, which is to try to look for preservation of the DRGR. So I would suggest supplanting things like Water Task Force, or maybe even subsuming it in the notion of that strategic goal and having something on that, and leaving it to, our council as to, well, how do we have that workshop, and if we're having litigation, how we affect it, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a broader issue with water too, and I did have a discussion with Bonita Springs Utilities, and they have some interesting input into this about the water quality that they're facing or in the future, and I'm concerned about long-term viability of our water supply, and they could provide input. So I would subsume all that within a workshop on water and water qualities. And there has been some concern about testing of private wells, which we said we were going to get some information for, and I don't know if we ever had. So that's all the same thing.
Okay. Council? Anybody else? Peter?
Well,
Mike?
Things like downtown, I mean, is this related to the project that's going on now? I mean, because it's talking about street accessories and sign plan and stuff. The project's going to be done in a matter of months. So, I mean, if it's a matter of what needs to be done first, if that's something we do want to talk about, it needs to be done relatively soon. Other things like, presentation to council on administrative code, Robert's rules and stuff. We've been up here a year. Well, it's been a year.
We figured
I think
it out,
that
I guess.
doesn't really apply as
figured it
much
all out.
anymore. It's
I have yet to follow them, so why start now, right?
And number one, how
Water with the truth.
how council does business. I think everybody kind of figured that out already. So, So I'm guessing this isn't, in order of importance, or?
Well, this is in
it's
no order at all.
particular order, okay.
Okay, so,
But like things like the vision for Weeks property, with that being up for sale, that might be something we'd want to discuss sooner
Absolutely.
also.
Right.
Absolutely.
So our vision's out there on it.
so number 1 and number 4,
I don't think.
are
we
you
need
looking to
them.
take them off?
No,
or-
I would like to have, I'm not quite sure what it means to have, how council does its business, but I think we've had a little bit of friction once in a while because we're not sure how we're supposed to interact with each other and with different, well, the public, I think we know how, but, the staff people. I just think we should talk about the process of how we get resolutions on projects that we're working on and how we can work with each other in a more cohesive way and still stay within the sunshine laws.
Right.
I think that's, I think a lot of these are my suggestions, so please excuse me for having them on there. Urban design standards, I thought we were getting, is
Well,
somebody,
I actually
somebody's doing this. Don't
I
we
owe
have a
Carl
stu-
Schwing comments for, I won't say how long, on
Well,
something.
And I'm okay to wait. I just
No,
want
no,
to
no,
make
I owe you.
council. Okay.
Carl prepared this is something that I had talked about, and Carl prepared some. We've had so much going on that I haven't gotten back to Carl. So maybe I can do that and then bring it to council actually as a suggestion.
I thought we were having a study on that, no.
No, the notion, the notion was almost similar to what we just talked about, this separate subject, but similar process, that on a lot of things, in terms of the look of the city, we perhaps could use some outside expert help, not to run up some huge bill, though.
Right.
And so Carl had prepared something, and I owe him comments on that. And I just think that might be a good process for me to go back to him and then have it brought to council for discussion, rather than have an hour workshop about it. If that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine
Amy?
with me.
Yeah,
No, I have a comment on every one of these, if you don't mind, okay? I think I had proposed that we have a community development operations workshop because there are many things that I don't quite sure how they work. One of which is, the transfer of density, for example, or infill considerations, bonus density, how these applications are sunsetted. I mean, just how we give authority to our community development department to implement the vision and the regulations that we have. I think I need an education, and judging from some of the things that have been raised here, I think we all need an education, but I'll take the forefront. I would like an education there, so I'd like to, and we could work on specifics there, but I think that that's a pretty big thing that we should work on. 4, I'm not that interested in. In regard to the downtown, I would like to have an update on any community development applications that are there, where we're going with this. Now that we're very close to finishing our project, I want to see how we're going to really move to the next step that's either going to make or break that project, which is the development down there. So and that could just be a presentation from time to time or an update kind of a thing. I have review bonus density policies. That would be up in community development. Definitely am in favor of having some kind of concept of what the Marina District should be. And I thought, did we ever vote? I think Fred put in a proposal that we have some kind of a study along the Bonita Beach Road corridor to do a concept of the design. Where are we?
That's out on the street right now, and it's due back May 19th.
But I thought we were going to include the Marina District in that, or is it just on Bonita Beach Road?
I believe, I'd have to go back and check. I
Okay.
think we wrote it for Bonita Beach Road.
Okay. If it's
Okay.
only solely for that, I think we need a similar concept design for the Marina District, and that is coming up because that property's on the market again.
Can I make a suggestion, just that I think I would do that for sure first? I mean,
Right.
in other words, we don't have an application in now, and now's the time to have that conversation.
And I just received a contact today from somebody who's interested in that property,
Okay.
so.
Well, I think that's the point that I made when we had the
Right,
discussion. So I thought that's why I was questioning whether it was already in process. If we don't have it in process, we need to expedite it. I totally agree. In regard to 9, I think there was some questions that was raised by the public in regard to the landscaping. when it initially went in, people were concerned about it. The only kinds of comments I'm now, there's a comment about the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance cost, and again, this could just be a report to the council from Matt, but I also would like it to be reviewed now that the landscaping is in place, to be certain that our sight lines are appropriate, because it's always different once it starts growing in. And I think this is something that, I'm sorry, Matt could do. Just check some of the safety issues there and how we're doing that, because I've gotten some concerns about that. The number 10, we're already in the middle of that. That was from when we first came in, and there was concerns that were raised about the annexation agreements, and we are in a legal issue with that, so that was relevant then, and we know what we're doing. Yeah, and I'm just interested, in the completion of Columns Bonita Trail, where I think Nicole's, I don't know where we are, but I'd like a report on that.
Okay.
Again, this is with discussions with Estero. At one time, I think that they had proposed that via Coconut Road be extended from Estero to 041. I don't know where that is. I have concern if I don't know, if there is a plan, I want to know where it is and how we're interacting with that, because I think some of the neighborhoods that might be proposed to go through wouldn't be too happy to hear that. So I want to make sure we're up to date on what's happening there. And I think the rest is the same. But these don't all have to be workshops, but if we just have presentations and take the ones that the staff can use their own judgment, which is more timely and important, and then fit it in sometime over the next year, maybe we'll get done.
And I would think, too, that we could actually, as you've already suggested, we could actually collapse some of these together so that we can cover it all in one report.
Right.
And there might be multiples we can do that with. And I'm hoping, council's already kind of ruled on this before, I just want to make sure you still feel comfortable with the approach that we can try to build these reports or these discussions into regular council meetings as opposed to holding workshops like we had been.
I agree.
Okay. All right, that's very good. Other thoughts from council on this?
Go ahead, I saw Fred, then Peter.
I think we need to have it could be just a major item on an agenda, but I think we need to go back through these proposed optional changes to comp plan and all that. Because I distinctly remember when all this came up to us, we said we do not want to proceed with any of that stuff till we screen out the stuff we don't want to do.
You're talking about water task force?
No, well, that too, but I'm talking about the stuff with Margaret Banyan and Florida Gulf Coast.
Yes.
And that's my recollection of what we said several times, but it appears that all those optional things are kind of moving along, and they've been discussed with the LPA and other things. I think we ought to sift them out now. Otherwise, first of all, Margaret's by the hour, and we could put her time on something else that we would want.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Good.
We ought to do the same thing in the water task force.
Peter, go ahead.
Just one other comment on the downtown. Carl and I have had long talks about this. I mean, this is, to say the least, extremely important. In my view, it's almost like we're trying to do not literally the Mercado, but a development like the Mercado. We have the infrastructure in place, but by the way, we got to have all the buildings. And, starting with bamboo and starting with the fact that I think I once measured, just went on Google Earth, and just if you took the block, I guess it's Goodwin, down to a block below the firehouse on both sides, the government owns somewhere like 60 to 70% of the linear feet. So kind of balls in city's court. And I know Carl's thinking about this, but it's a major, major thing. And I actually think we have, we have the famous 2 photos from 5 years ago, kind of giving an idea. I know John's department has things in place, but I don't think we've had a good public exercise about our views about that, and particularly starting with the bamboo property. So just a thought.
Okay. Oh, good thoughts. Council, anything else? We need any?
I have I think enough direction.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Sky Family YMCA. Nicole?
Hello, Nicole Perino, Parks and Recreation Director for the record. This is just bringing back to you whether or not you would like us to enter into an agreement with the YMCA for the pool program that we did a pilot of last year. It does have the statistics of how much it was utilized. It wasn't much, but this is something I have met with the YMCA. They are agreeable, but only to the same days and times on the weekends that were available last year. They can't increase that due to their own programming of the pool. They would ask again that we pay for the additional lifeguards, so that would be our cost. And why I'm coming to you now is we would like to have it from Memorial Day to Labor Day this year. So if this is something you would like to do, next meeting we would have an agreement put together for your approval so we could start on Memorial Day. But it is up to you. As I said, the usage is on here. Some of the weekends weren't used at all. Some were just used by 1 or 2 families. So it really is up to your discretion. I would just like direction as to where you would like me to go with it.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Fred?
Well, I'm just going to ask Nicole, the Y, at least, and I'm sure they'll do it this, every summer they have a lot of different camps on all kind of things. I know one year they even had golf lessons and all that out there. And it's for basically the kids, not us older folks or mature folks. So would there be any merit in you talking to them about, is there any opportunity, could we actually funnel some people through the city that wouldn't get an opportunity to do it on those camps?
You mean in terms of us scholarshiping kids to do it? I mean, that's something, if you would like me to look into, I definitely could do that.
Well, I think it would be a win for everybody, because we're looking for things for our kids to do in the summer, and they got these things going on.
We actually have those going on in our own rec center too. We have a summer camp program, as well as the YMCA having a summer camp program. We are this summer, or actually soon, probably within the next couple of weeks, going back out to bid for our own summer camp program. That would start, it would be after school and summer camp for starting this fall, because that's when the contract is up.
And the other thought I'd have, maybe just discuss, see if you can be things where you mesh together. And all that. I mean, I think it would be good for both, myself. But.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Steve.
Nicole, I just want to make sure I understand this. Last year when it was used as much, you said there was a weekend that nobody was there?
There are some weekends that no one
Are we paying
attended.
for lifeguards on that
They
weekend?
actually did not charge us for the lifeguards if no one from the public attended.
Good question, Steve. Thank you.
Are they going to do that this year also?
Yes, they
Okay.
said they would do that again.
Almost seems, I mean, you're right, there's not a lot of use, but it's almost like no harm, no foul to do it.
And it could have just been sort of startup if people didn't know that they had the ability to go there.
Correct. We
And
did
this-
start in the middle of summer last year. That's why we really would want to hit that Memorial Day weekend, because that's typically the kickoff to summer. So we would want to hit that time frame so we have the whole summer this
But
this
one
year.
of the purposes is here was to alleviate congestion at our own facilities,
Mhm.
right? So it might be more important to have it on those really high-intensity dates.
Yes, which are the weekends.
Yeah.
Those are busier times.
Okay.
Council should be aware that part of our promotional efforts in order to get folks interested in the YMCA is that we're actually advertising at our own facilities. So if they're used to using the swimming pool here, there's promotional materials up and around so that they understand that the YMCA is an alternative for that, as well as the other agreements that we've had with the Y.
So it's a good partnership.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I move to have this program continued.
Sure.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Sacha? Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, what we'll
Carl.
do is we'll bring back a proposed agreement for your adoption at the next meeting so we can get going. and we will look into the other opportunities for being involved in other programs at the Y.
Great.
Okay?
Great. Thank you.
All right, and then, thank you very much for that. And then we've got Ann to talk about the budget schedule. And good luck with this one. Thank you.
Ann Wright, Finance Director. We have 3 council budget-related meetings that we need to get scheduled.
Bless you.
Bless you. And if I could start with the July budget meeting, this is the longer, tends to be the longer meeting where we go into more detail about the city manager's requested budget. And the initial date that was selected, which was in line with the timing of when it was held last year, is Wednesday, July 12th. That is not a council meeting date. It's a week after the council meeting date. Councilman DeWitt is out of town. Was the only response that I had on that date.
Well,
Not
if it's out of town,
working.
we can't do it.
You're out of town on the 12th?
Yeah, I
Oh,
leave
is
the
that-
6th to the 16th to go to Vermont.
Council needs to be aware that I am out of town on the 13th through the end of the month.
Good for you. Council needs to be out of, where I may not be around too much in August.
Okay. Well, and we know that there's another individual sitting up there where the end of July and beginning of August is difficult every year.
How about the
So-
week, yeah, thank you, Carl. How about the weekend of the 17th? What is that looking like of July?
You're away?
Well, I won't be here.
Oh,
It's not good. When are you away,
oh,
Carl?
oh.
I'm
So,
13th through the end of the month.
So we need to do.
How about the week ahead?
Week
Actually,
ahead.
I leave the 10th, not the 6th. I'm
The
sorry.
10th, okay.
The 10th
So we need to do it
July.
before the 10th.
Why don't we do it?
Okay, can you do it the week where, I don't know, what's
How about
the
July
date,
4th?
6th
It's
or
the
something like
5th.
Yeah,
that?
July 4th.
Right after the
How about-
parade.
After the parade, we could do
In
it.
between the parade and the
bed race.
Star Spangled Banner.
Mm-hmm. But what
Star
about the,
Spangled Bonita.
How
what
about
about the 8th or 9th? Or does that make sense? Or no?
On a weekend?
No.
Again?
Oh, I'm looking at May, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Mike.
the 8th would
We're
be
doing
Saturday.
July, right?
We're doing July, I'm doing
How
May.
about the 6th or the 5th? How about the 6th?
Oh, it has to be that,
The
oh,
the
yeah.
How long
5th
does
is
it
the
take?
5:30 council meeting.
That has to be to 5:30?
On the, July 5th is a regular scheduled
Oh.
5:30 council
How long
meeting.
are we anticipating?
This is the big meeting.
It tends to run 3 to 4 hours.
Could it be done before the council meeting, or
Oh,
do we not want to do it?
No, I'll be here. You're talking
Come on,
about
let's
that.
get it all
Yeah.
done in one day.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, my,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, would
gotta
we
take
want,
half day off
What
anyway.
what about the 6th or the 7th, or no?
I'm like I said, I'm not leaving till the 10th, I believe.
How about the 6th or the
Okay,
5th?
6th.
The 5th is okay with me if we want to do it. We could do it like.
We're gonna have a meeting on the 5th?
July the 6th?
we are going to have a meeting on the 5th, right? I mean, I know we're scheduled to, but we are, right? That's what I'm getting
Well,
at.
we're planning on it.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So what about the 6th?
6th. yeah.
Okay, so Thursday, July the 6th.
I'm good.
Okay, starting at 9 AM, would that
Okay.
be okay?
Sure.
All right, is that okay?
You'll probably go, what, 9 to 1, 9 to 2?
Well, normally we schedule it starting at 9 AM until the council's finished.
Oh, I
Until
have
dot,
a-
dot, dot, dot.
I have an
Until you've
appointment.
had enough.
I
Until
got a
we give
1:30
up.
appointment. Let me ask you a question. I hate to, is the 7th all right?
Either day's fine with me.
All right, because
Like I said.
there's- I have,
I'll make either
believe it
one
or
up.
not, I have an appointment in here at 1:30 on the 6th. Is the 7th all right?
7th is fine on my calendar.
I just got it in my calendar. I got to change.
Okay.
Sorry. Just move it, hold your thumb and move it.
I know how to do
Yeah.
Yes.
7th.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank-
July
thank you.
7th, 9 AM.
Okay.
Okay.
The next 2 dates fall in
Wait
September.
a minute.
The first is the tentative budget hearing. Have a little change this year. We typically have that scheduled on our first meeting of the month before the 5:30 meeting. This year, the county is having their hearing on that date, which prohibits us from having our hearing on that same date.
Tell them
So
to change it.
Yeah.
They already messed us up on the school thing. Tell them to change it.
Right.
Well, actually, what happened is the school took their date. They usually have
See?
theirs on
The school.
Tuesday, and the school.
School board.
Greg, they got a $1 billion budget, they can move it.
So,
So
we could have that instead of the council meeting, couldn't we? Is that what you're saying? We usually have it
That-
on the council meeting
What
date,
did you want?
yes, but,
in addition to the council. meeting?
yeah, it's
Oh.
typically not a real long meeting.
I see,
We usually
okay.
have it at, well, it's 5:05.
What time
And so-
frame are we looking at? You're talking September now, right?
That would be September. So the choices shown here are the 7th of September or an alternate date which is the following Wednesday of September 13th.
Why don't we just do the 7th? Because you have to have another one too, right?
I have two, yeah.
And the reason why I was looking at the alternate date was because after I put this schedule out, I was unaware, because we need to schedule the second hearing then, or the final hearing, that Rosh Hashanah, even though the calendar shows it on Thursday, it actually technically begins sunset on Wednesday.
Wednesday,
And that would be the 20th, so I'm moving ahead to the final. But we have just some timelines to work with when we schedule the two hearings, once we have one.
In terms of the first meeting, the only reason I would suggest having it earlier rather than moving it back is if there is some substance, otherwise we're cramming everything right to the end.
Right.
So
Thursday the 7th?
The 6th, or, am I in the right month
Or-
here? You're in the right place, yeah, 6th to the 7th.
Thursday the 7th?
7th,
At what time?
5:30 it has to be, she said.
5:05 says.
5:05.
501.
And that last meeting has to be that week of the 18th through the 22nd?
No, it actually can fall on.
Because I'm not
the-
here
on-
that week at all.
It can fall on the week of the 25th.
At that point, it's almost.
Yeah, but it's
25th.
just
An appearance
formalized,
thing.
yeah.
I'm not going to, I can't come to either the September 20th or the 27th. I'm going to be on a cruise.
Good.
But that's for the final, right? That's basically. Yeah, so that's not that.
There
important.
just needs to be 4 people here, so.
Is Mr.
if-
Q
if
going?
2 are gone.
No, I'm
Does he
leaving
know
him-
about it?
I'm
Yes,
leaving him home.
Yes, he know about it?
Yes, he does.
He's staying home for bad behavior.
Yeah, no.
All right, so.
This
the
is a
we're doing this-
postpone.
So we got the
So-
7th of
The 7th,
September,
right.
and then what's our last one? What are we thinking?
The last
You're not
one
here? Who's that?
could fall the first part of the week of the 25th.
Just a,
What time was the 7th?
just a quick,
7th, 5:01.
Saying.
5:05.
5:05, okay.
5:05 now?
And then the alternative is Saturdays.
here's my only question.
Yeah.
But legally by statute.
What about the 25th?
Well, I'm just saying,
Or
we've got a meeting
26th.
on the 20th. Why can't we do it on the 20th?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's a morning meeting. He has to do it.
Well, you got to do it at 5
Yes,
o'clock?
it
Do
could
it
be,
5
it
o'clock?
could be done at
You can do it in the day?
5:05.
5:05.
No, but
You have to
you
come
can't
back.
piggyback.
You'd have to be in the afternoon, though.
It's got to be at 5:05?
It has to
We
be
just have
after
to come
5
back.
PM.
Yes, you'd have to come back.
But it's
I mean, that's
come
fine,
here
isn't it?
anyway.
Yeah, right, right.
Whether it's on a
that-
Thursday or
Right,
Tuesday,
same
you still got to
difference.
come here anyway.
So
Right.
what date you want?
The 20th at 5:05.
Okay, so
I mean,
the
that's just a
20th
thought.
is a 9 AM meeting, though.
Right.
So you'll have to come back. But again, hopefully by
Marjorie's-
this part in the process, it's a
Time out.
relatively brief meeting.
September 20th is, I cannot be here,
All right,
but in
so we're not
addition
gonna-
to me, other people.
Right, so we won't do it then. So what do
Okay.
you want to move it to?
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's
wait, you're going to do it when, during high holidays?
No, I said we won't do it.
Oh,
You said
good,
you won't.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
That's the Jewish holiday, isn't
Right.
it?
I just said we, you didn't, I was talking too quickly.
Yeah.
So,
You could do the 27th.
come up with a date.
I don't
Yeah, just
care,
tell us what day.
not September 20th.
The what?
I said just not September 20th.
Oh.
How would Tuesday, the 26th
It's fine.
be?
Fine, 5:05?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
5:05. I can't put a 5:05 in here.
Yeah, you can.
You probably can.
On that screen, you can
Why did they got 4 minutes to it?
Oh.
Yes, and one of the things from a standpoint of compliance, because this is all in the truth and millage regulations, what I do is I communicate with them the dates that we're planning to have our meetings, and they confirm that they are in agreement with those dates. So I will be doing that tomorrow, so I can confirm for sure that these dates will work. So we're looking at the July meeting for July 7th at 9 a.m. And the first tentative budget hearing is Thursday, the 7th at 5:05 p.m. September. And September 26th for the second and final budget hearing at 5:05 p.m.
You got it.
Great, thank you very much.
Good.
Great, thank you, Ann.
Mayor and Council. I've got 2 more items. Number 1, just want to let you know that Meals of Hope, staff will be fielding a team, so we're all excited. So if council gets together and does it, we'll look forward to trying to win the trophy, all right?
Okay.
And then the last thing is thank like Audrey, I want to thank the council for extending my contract. Appreciate that very much. It's a privilege to serve as your city manager.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much.
What's next?
Okay, moving on now, approval of the minutes. Or no, I'm sorry, mayor and council member reports. We kind of did that earlier, but
I'm done.
last call.
I'm good. No, done.
No?
I can't make the Meals of Hope thing. I'm out of town that week.
can't.
but
Okay.
I can't either,
would've
but
liked to
send you
have
a
done it.
check.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do a check.
Yeah, I'll do a
We'll be in Michigan.
We like money.
Yeah,
Yeah, just email if you want to make a contribution so I could
okay,
figure it out.
great. Okay, I would just, once again, invite everybody to come on Saturday, May 6th, from 4 to 9 p.m. down at Riverside Park for our first annual Fiesta Cinco de Mayo celebration, community-wide, and would invite everybody. Please attend. Anybody else? Any other announcements?
No, Peter, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
Thank you. Okay, we're good? Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Caramba? Aye. Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman Sacco?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Rick Steinmeier, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Mayor. Also on Saturday the 6th, we have the Pioneer, the 45th Annual Pioneer Day at the Lions Club. It's a covered dish. You bring a dish. If you had family here before 1945 or 50, it's actually the Lyles, Hogue, who else is, family reunion. It's all the old timers in Bonita, and I'm sure the mayor will stop in. The doors open at 10 to 12, and then you can go to the Fiesta afterwards, so you can get a good meal, bring a covered dish or something, and it's always and they have all kinds of pictures of the old Bonita Springs families and stuff. It's really worthwhile. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Other members of the public?
Oh, no.
Mr. Q.
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go.
Wasn't there a guy in the James Bond movies they
Yeah, that
called
was
Q?
There was a Q. Yes, there was a Q, but I'm not he. I was watching your meeting last time on television. I didn't get down here. And I only want to comment on Councilman Forbes' comment at the very end of the meeting. I think you said, perhaps with some exasperation, we need to send a message to the legislature regarding the Sunshine Law and perhaps some revisions. And I must tell you, I really think that was an excellent suggestion. I don't know whether you all could hear from way up in North Bonita, but I cheered and applauded. So I'm coming down here, Councilman Forbes and members of the council, to say, I don't know whether we can instruct our lobbyists or in any other way as a town body to send a message to the legislature, but I was a person in your seat many, many years ago, and I will just take a second to tell you. I was elected to the Board of Commissioners in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and I was indeed the first and only unmarried village father in the city of Ridgewood, or the village as we call it. And of course, they made me Commissioner of Public Affairs. There were no public affairs during my tenure. But I do understand the task you have, and I think the interest you would have from time to time in sharing ideas and kind of approaching each other just to decide whether something is a good thing to be pursued or not such a good thing. And you'd rather do it one-on-one rather than, say, in this public setting when some of the ideas might really be embarrassing and silly, and a colleague could point that out, rather that the colleague pointed out privately. My point being that I think the current law that we have really ties your hands, and it stifles the beneficial exchange of ideas from among the people who probably know more about this community and its needs than most of us. So I do hope that a message can be sent to the legislature that this law, which apparently was designed to be very helpful, goes too far. It's counterproductive. And there must be a way where at least two of you could chat from time to time without endangering the principle that official action not be taken outside the public view in informal settings. So anyway, Councilman, thank you very much for your proposal. Here's one citizen that strongly endorses it, and I hope that the council will consider sending a message through your channels to the legislature.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Other members of the public?
He said you wrap it up. I said I have nothing to say.
I wanted her.
No, I may be wrong. I was glancing at the paper today, and didn't Representative Donalds propose it? And I believe it was turned down. I believe that's what I saw. So that's the only reason I'm wrapping up. Yes, he proposed it, and I'm not sure. You better check on it, but I'm 99% sure that it was denied, whatever.
Right.
So I did wrap it up. I had lied to Mr. Q. Good night.
Thank you, Kathy. Other members of the public? Okay, seeing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved, second.
We are adjourned.